This is Laurie M., reading From Like to Love by Tessie Lamore, a romance kindled by social media. From Like to Love. It started, or so she thought, when he wrote something clever and complimentary about a photo she'd taken of a squirrel. The camera had been one of David's tiresome too little, too late gifts, but in spite of her irritation, she found she rather liked photography. After that first, there had been more compliments and some witty back and forth. He went by Moose, with a profile showing a moose holding a beer. Moose juice, he called it. She went by Stargazer, though it had been years since she'd spent time camping and identifying constellations. Her profile picture was a simple sketch David did of her before they were married, with stars over her head. She wished someone other than her husband had made it, but it matched her screen name. Moose posted often about his wife Susan. This was a relief, as it alleviated the vague unease Stargazer had about how much she looked forward to bantering with Moose. Susan said we should go to a Warriors game, he said one day. Wish I could, but much too busy. I said she should take a friend. David loves the Warriors. Wait, do you live in East Orchard, too? She knew he lived in her state, but hadn't imagined he lived in the same town. They chatted about the town, but by unspoken agreement didn't go into any more detail. It was easier to stay online. Over the weeks and months that followed, they developed a sense of each other's mood. Moose didn't bring up David unless she did first. Stargazer sympathized with how needy Susan could be, though she was careful to do it only when they chatted privately and not in public forums. There were moments that scared her. Once he pushed about seeing a real photo. He sent one of himself, and she was pleasantly surprised by his rugged look, and relieved that she didn't recognize him. At first, she refused, but then impulsively sent one David took of her in Jamaica on their vacation. Only after sending it, she realized it was awfully revealing, and fretted for half a day that he would take it wrong. When he finally saw it and commented, he said, "Very nice." She felt the heat in her cheeks, but a vague sense of disappointment that he didn't say more. "Close the laptop and let's go for a walk," David urged her. "It's clear out and we can look at the stars." He probably just wanted to make up for coming home late from work. When she shook her head, he went on irritably. "It isn't healthy staring at a screen so much." Like so many interchanges, this started an argument which ended when David stormed out, saying she needed help. Even though she pointedly closed the laptop when David finally returned, he didn't apologize, and slept in the guest room. "In case of emergency, I pray to Jesus." Stargazer laughed at the mouse and the silly pun. She loved how Moose always had a joke or funny picture to share. Life was too short to spend it being miserable. David had left for a meeting of some sort on a Sunday, and she eagerly got online for the pun day jokes. She found a good pun post to share with Moose, smiling when he approved. Before she knew it, she heard David's car outside and posted her regrets. "Real life calls," she wrote, "and I must answer." She watched until Moose commented back, "Talk later," before she closed the laptop. Weeks went by, and she found herself waiting all through work for a chance to get back on and talk to him. He was struggling with something to do with Susan, and needed a lot of support. It felt good to be able to help, to be important to somebody. She wondered about suggesting meeting for coffee, somewhere safe and neutral, of course. She wondered if he'd turn her down. She decided to take the chance the next time she got on. Then her own day from hell came. First with her boss, and then with David. Reeling, she ran to the laptop to see if he was on. God, she needed him to be there for her now. "Need to talk. Please tell me you're here," she wrote into the chat window. Moose often left his window open even when he was away, but he got on right away. "Oh, God, Susan left me. No warning, and the bitch just walked out. She met somebody and said it's over. I think she means it this time." Stargazer stared at the words. Her hands trembled, and she couldn't type. Secretly, she dreamed it might be like this. He'd be available, they'd meet, fall in love. But all she could hear in her head was David, over and over. I didn't mean it to happen. It's not you, really. You and I just haven't been right for so long. But I met her at my support group. You know, for spouses of internet addicts. Her name is Susan. Thank you for listening. You can find more stories by Tessie Lamore on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores.